Hello everyone, you are watching the channel Creeptanium. Today we have an art challenge. Take a look around the perimeter of Bone Island. Do you notice these 5 different skulls? Well, in today's episode, I'm going to be taking these 5 different skulls and creating singing monsters for each of them. So let's start with the one on the far right. Its skull resembles that of a turtle or a tortoise's, so I'm going to be creating a singing, snapping turtle monster out of it. So my idea for this snapping turtle monster is that it would stamp its feet on the ground to create a kick drum sound, and it would snap its jaws to create a snare drum sound as a percussion kit. But then I looked at the shape of the shell, and I noticed that it really resembled an igloo. So then I sort of embraced the cold theme of this monster and turned it into like an ice type. And this is our very first Bone Island skeleton interpretation. I decided to name it Tordice after I established the igloo theme because the pun was so bad that I had to keep it. The next skeleton that we're going to be reimagining is the one on the far left. Now to me, it looked like the skull of a snake, but then it had all these weird bumps on the top of its head. So what I did is I interpreted all these little pellets as maraca beads, and that this monster, this snake monster, would have a big bulge on the top of its head that acts like a maraca, sort of like a reverse rattlesnake, and I thought that idea was pretty funny. So right away I managed to establish the body theme of this snake monster, and then I gave it this big pompadour where it contains all the maraca pellets. And when we finally name the monster in the end, you're going to see why I gave it such a big pompadour. But then you can see it has a tuning fork for a tongue, and I decided to give it a pattern similar to traditional maracas, so you can see a little bit of inspiration in the pattern of this monster. And our second monster, Raddler, has been named. He's a Rad Rattlesnake, which is why he has that pompadour. So now we can move on to the next monster. Now, for this skull, the only thing I knew what I wanted to do was to make it a dragon, but that was it. But in the end, this recreation of the Bone Island skull turned out to be my favorite of the 5, and you'll soon see why. So I sort of fleshed out the original skull, and I saw that I really wanted to make a big lumpy dragon with really tiny arms and really tiny wings to sort of contrast how big his lower half is. And then I got the idea to make him an instrumental. We had 2 percussion monsters already, and I had the amazing idea to give him an instrument made out of fire. And so I was looking around for different instruments that we could give this dragon, and I thought, why not a banjo? And so he plucks on the bolt of fire in order to make a banjo sound. And one thing led to another, and we got the amazing name that will soon pop up on your screen. This is my favorite design and my favorite name. Just everything about this monster I love. Let me introduce you to Joe Torch, the banjo-playing blowtorch of the monster world. Yes, everything about this monster is perfect. So we had drawn Tordice, Raddler, and Joe Torch, and now I decided to tackle this interesting-looking monster. It was vaguely aquatic in appearance, so I decided to make it some sort of plesiosaur or aquatic reptile. This particular fossil was wrapped around the base of where the castle of Bone Island sits, so we actually get to see a bit of its tail as well to show how long it is and give an idea of what it could look like. So far we had 2 percussion monsters and 1 instrumental monster, so I decided to make this monster a vocal one. So he just sort of lays on the ground and opens his mouth up like a steel trap and sings or mutters or does some sort of weird vocal thing. Naming this monster was a little tricky, but I finally decided to settle upon Nauth, which is a combination of Nothosaurus and mouth. A Nothosaurus is basically an early plesiosaur, so it matches the design of this monster. And finally, we arrive at the 5th skull, This one gave me a lot of trouble, so I'll actually leave in the early prototype drawings. My original idea was to make it like a prehistoric Tiawa, or a Tiawa that was mid-evolution to becoming something else, but that didn't really work out too well. The silhouette and the skull was just a little too different to make it look similar to a Tiawa. So I scrapped that idea and went with something entirely different, and I like that result much better. So no matter which way I put flesh over this Bone Island skull, it always ended up looking like a monkey. So when I tried to design this prehistoric Tiawa, it just ended up looking like a big monkey. And of course it didn't help because I gave it a gorilla-like body and it walks on his knuckles, but you get the point. I went so far with this design because I thought it would get better, but it did not get better. I'll let you see for yourself. At this point, I just gave up and decided to make an actual monkey. Filling in those weird arches with cheeks actually really helped me figure out what I wanted to do with this monster. I had the idea to make it sort of related to enchantling and make it related to the voodoo. So it's got the markings on the arms and it uses a psychic ability to vibrate the tongs on its head. And when it does that, it makes a kalimba sound. This is why the monster is brilliantly named Kalimbab, a combination of kalimba and baboon. So it looks like we're just about out of time for today's video, but I'd like to thank you for watching me draw these Bone Island monsters. I had a blast drawing them. Let me know what your favorite monster was down in the comments, and if you have any comments, questions, or critiques, just let me know. And just to let you know, because I'm going to be out of town next Sunday, there will not be an upload to the Cryptanium channel. If you've liked what you saw today on the channel and wish to see more content like this, consider liking and subscribing so I can share my content. You have been watching the Cryptanium channel, and I will see you guys later.